Parkour is an insane sport, with athletes performing otherworldly feats of speed, agility, and whatever this is. Now, we've extensively covered how well professional rock climbers do on American Ninja Warrior, easily completing obstacles that other athletes can't even start on. But now it's time to find out if the best parkour athletes in the world have what it takes to win. And this episode is jam-packed with more celebrity guest appearances than we have ever seen on this channel. We have parkour legends Toby Segar and Tim Champion, famous UK pop star Lee Evans, a leprechaun, and the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. Trust me guys, it's really him. And starting us off in round one, our first competitor is Dion Trigg. A Ninja Warrior veteran with years of experience on the show, surely he'll start us off with a bang.
Everything there is about Ninja Warrior.
Next up is Danny Carter, a plumber from somewhere in the UK. Doesn't really matter. And it's important to remember with competitors like Danny that they're not professional athletes, okay? These are the normal guys, the blue-collar workers. He's a plumber, and he flies through the flying squirrel like he's done it 1,000 times. He moves on to the next obstacle, which is the spinning bridge, which is one of my favorite obstacles, for obvious reasons. But Danny the plumber continues to impress and makes it through with ease. The next obstacle is the parallel pipes, and my plan here was to introduce you guys to the obstacles as they went on, as someone would fall on one obstacle, then somebody would make it further, and we'd introduce every obstacle, because somebody like Danny the plumber from Worcestershire, UK, probably isn't gonna make it all the way through the parallel pipes. But once again, Danny makes it through the obstacle with ease. Danny is now on the last obstacle before the warped wall, the infamous, that can't be right.
If they have any upper body strength left, they'll face ring jump.
The what?
They'll face ring jump.
What job?
Ring jump.
Well, good thing he's a plumber. Danny makes quick work of the rim job, passing through with ease before making it up the warped wall and finishing round one. And with that, it is time for our first celebrity guest appearance, Lee Evans.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Now, there are quite a few competitors in this episode. There's over 100 of them, so I'm not going to go through every single one. So I'll just rattle off a few really quick. There's a gymnastics coach who falls on the flying squirrel. There's a leprechaun who also falls on the flying squirrel. And there's a professional BMX rider who they definitely should have subtitled.
It's only water you fall into, isn't it? So I fall on rock normally.
Yeah, no, totally. That's definitely English. But the professional BMX rider makes it through the flying squirrel, across the spinning bridge, and ultimately gets defeated by the rim job. He's rolling. Our next competitor is another hardworking, blue-collar American, except he's not American, he's from the UK, blue-collar UKsman. His name is Dominic Cambriani, the chip shop owner. Dominic is unique in that he uses his chip shop as a gym to train in, and even uses his chipper bags for workouts. And Dominic's training paid off because he completes every single obstacle and finishes the course in the fastest time so far. So round one continues, there's some more falls, and some more people make it to round two. But then we get the greatest competitor I have ever seen on Ninja Warrior, Paul Huntley.
Let's go, baby!
Paul walks out onto the course to a cheering crowd, just like any other competitor. But as he approaches the start, he notices a small child waving a foam finger in his direction. And Paul is not having it. He rips the foam finger from the child's hand, spikes it onto the ground, and then proceeds to stomp on it violently. Paul has the attitude of a champion. Paul begins the floating steps, and the audience has already turned against him, yelling for him to fall as he completes the obstacle.
Some of the crowd willing him to fall in.
And this makes Paul very upset.
Oh no, he's telling the audience to shut up.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and Paul fails to complete the flying squirrel. But Paul isn't finished yet.
The reason that fell in is because they were being so obnoxious, I couldn't concentrate when I was going. Your fault.
Continuing round one, we have gymnast Beth Lodge complete round one, and 3 competitors in a row fail on the flying squirrel.
Be gone.
But we still do have a few more make it through, like British Jacksepticeye, British Will Tennyson, and British Donald Trump.
I'm gonna tame this course.
So British Trump comes out and just starts handing out cash to everyone in the audience, instantly winning over the crowd before immediately face planting on the floating steps.
That was so good and so easy.
So easy, I finished in 5 seconds.
Now at this point in round 1, they've changed up a few of the obstacles to keep the competitors on their toes. We still got the floating steps to start with, which is still knocking people unconscious. Obstacle 2 is now this ring slide thing that not a single competitor falls on. But obstacle number 3 is now coin flip, which may look easier than the rolling bridge, but it is not. We lose so many competitors on this obstacle that it accounts for over 50% of all eliminations in round 1. Here are a few highlights.
Come on, Becky. There he goes. Touch. Nimble.
Now this is where the real competition begins, because up next we have 2 rock climbers and 2 parkour pros. And first up is Matt Christie, a route setter from the UK somewhere. He quickly makes his way through the floating steps and onto the obstacle that no one cares about. But now he must face the most challenging obstacle of all, coin flip. Thankfully, Matt is able to use his supreme slab climbing skills to make quick work of the coin flip. He then moves on to the hanging sloper bars. I didn't write down the name of that one. Using his supreme rock climbing wrist strength, he easily campuses his way through the obstacle and onto everyone's favorite obstacle, rim job. And as any self-respecting climber would, Matt gives a flawless rim job performance and flashes the warped wall, setting the new fastest time on round 1. What was his time? I have no idea. They don't say. Next up is the parkour world champion, Tim Champion. Not to be confused with other parkour legend, Tim Pretty Good. Tim parkours his way through the floating steps, skipping the rope swing entirely. He even throws a little stank on it as he passes by. Tim means business. He parkours his way through this thing and clears coin flip without any hesitation. But now Tim must face the slopers of doom. And immediately it is clear that Tim is having a harder time on this obstacle than the climber before him. Not only is he going much slower, but he's also not doing that cool thing where you climb with no feet like the climber did. Tim's found himself in a pickle that he just can't parkour his way out of. Fortunately, Tim makes his way through the obstacle and desperately tries to make up for lost time on rim job. I wonder how many more times I can say that before I get demonetized. Tim makes his way through the ring jump, but gets hung up a little bit in the second half before completing the obstacle. He then finishes the course in the most parkour way possible. Now, if you're wondering how athletes like Tim Champion perform at such a high level, it's because they use the right chalk. Probably. And if you're somebody who's in the market for some chalk right now, I've got a pretty good deal for you, all right? Buckle up, because things are about to get crazy. For a limited time, Rungna, the creators of Magdust, the greatest chalk in the world, are giving away a lifetime supply of chalk to one lucky winner. That's right, the greatest chalk ever made, the stickiest, the ickiest, Magnus approved Magdust chalk. You get a lifetime supply if you click the link in the description below. Also, use code DINO at checkout to get 10% off your entire order. And for a little bit of context, a few years ago, well before I was sponsored on YouTube or anything like that, I did a video where I tried every single rock climbing chalk, and Magdust was by far the best. It was the best chalk out there, and as the years have gone by, more and more people are coming to the same consensus. So don't miss out, all right? Don't miss your opportunity to get a lifetime supply. I don't even have a lifetime supply of Magdust, all right? Click the link in the description and enter for a chance to win your lifetime supply of Magdust. Thank you to Rungna for sponsoring this video. Now let's move on to our first rock climbing competitor in round 1. Moving on to our next competitor, we have professional rock climber, Imogen Horrocks, I don't know how to say her name. Imogen dinos her way across the floating stairs and easily makes it through the sliding obstacle thing. But now she must face off against the coin flip obstacle.
Those long strides. That's how you do it, Imogen. Nicely done.
Every single one of those steps, she looked like she was gonna fall. Imogen moves on to the sloper bars, and while she also does not do the cool rock climber no feet thing, she makes quick work of the obstacle. But fear not, because the next obstacle is the ring jump, which Imogen does use the cool rock climbing no feet thing before proceeding to the warp wall and finishing round 1 in a super fast time. What was her time? I don't know. Now we still have one more competitor in round 1 that we have to talk about. He's the reason you all clicked on this video. He's probably in the thumbnail. I don't know, I haven't made it yet. He's Toby Segar, one of the greatest parkour athletes of all time and a popular figure in the rock climbing community as well. Toby has completed multiple high-level climbs and even broke the Dino world record, which I tried to beat. It was harder than it looked. Toby begins on the floating steps. I think they didn't show that part for some reason. He swings onto the big hoop thing and slides down the big bag. I don't know what any of these obstacles are called. He sprints across the big stairs and leaps straight in to the sloppy slopers. And using his combined parkour and rock climbing abilities, Toby easily makes it through the slopers and moves on to the big jump thing. And I just want to take a moment to talk about how big of a difficulty spike this obstacle is. You have to lâcher, which is like jumping with your arms, like 10 feet between these tiny little platforms. And in the previous 2 iterations of round 1, this was the ring jump, which nobody fell on. Thankfully, Toby is a true ninja warrior, and he nails the lâcher before sprinting like a monkey up the warped wall. He didn't do a 360 like Tim Champion did, but he did finish round 1 in the fastest time and even broke the round 1 world record. What was his time? I don't know, stop asking. So we're almost finished with round 1, but there's a few more competitors I want to go over before we move into round 2. We have a Spartan warrior who falls on the ring jump, another Love Island reality star who falls instantly, a law professor who makes it surprisingly far, and a real-life pirate who falls on the trapeze swing. There's also this guy who they introduce as a personal trainer, and he's like, no, I'm not a personal trainer. Don't call me that. I'm a health coach. Don't call me a personal trainer.
I'm definitely not a personal trainer. I'm way more than a personal trainer, so please don't call me that.
Then he gets on the course, falls instantly, and the hosts are like, looks like he needs a personal trainer. I don't know why they were Australian, but whatever.
I made it next year.
I think you might need a personal trainer, but
And besides a few more funny falls, that's it for round 1. Now round 2 is much harder than round 1, and only a few will move on to the finals. And starting us off in round 2 is our professional rock climber, Imogen Horrocks, on the floating steps. Again, they really like that obstacle. Next up is the crimp disc hang slide. She's a pro climber, easy. But next up is another running obstacle, except for this time, it's a bunch of vertical panels. She cruises through it like a V3 slab boulder. And after that is the swinging horseshoes, and let me tell you something, I've tried this obstacle, it's pretty hard. Imogen begins to swing on the first horseshoe. Sweat trickles down her brow. She knows that all of her training has been for this moment. With one final swing, she dynos with all of her might and catches the second horseshoe. She almost slips, but her supreme climber grip strength keeps her on. The entire rock climbing community watches anxiously. Will Imogen make the jump and prove that rock climbers are more than just no?
You gotta be kidding me! Where were you at? Oh my god, you suck so bad! I can't do it! I can't! No!
It turns out that the horseshoe obstacle is an absolute showstopper in round 2. So many contestants get absolutely dumpstered by this obstacle.
sombrero's bit.
But our favorite UK chip shop owner, Dominic Cambriani, is able to use his abilities from his chip-only diet to overcome this obstacle. He then moves on to the dangling bar obstacle, which he completes with ease. Dominic sprints up the warped wall and finishes the first half of round 2. That's right, round 2 is twice as long as round 1, and the second half is even harder than the first. And not only that, but Dominic is exhausted at this point and struggles to even catch his breath. The potatoes have betrayed him. And he nervously prepares for the next obstacle, the bar swing thing. Unfortunately, Dominic's potato powers run out and he fails the obstacle. So far, we've lost one of our 2 pro climbers and one of our 2 blue-collar workers on round 2. And next up is our first parkour athlete, Toby Segar. Once again, the cameras start rolling 30 seconds into Toby's run, so we don't get to see him do obstacle number 1. Either way, Toby sprints through the foot dangle thing and makes it onto the horseshoes, which he completes with ease. So Toby goes through this course with blinding speed. It's like an unprecedented pace, which is awesome, but also a little frustrating. Because when I do American Ninja Warrior videos, I can't show more than like a 5-second clip without me talking in between, or the entire video gets copyrighted and taken down. So I'll have to show a clip and then cut to me saying something like, oh wow, I can't believe you just did that. Toby flies onto the dangling bars, moving at unrivaled speed. He then does a backwards 180-degree dismount and flies up the warped wall. He has now made it to the second half of round 2 faster than anyone else on the show, but he's not done yet. Toby leaps onto the bar swing and makes an absolute joke out of the same obstacle that has taken out so many athletes before him. But now Toby has reached an obstacle we have not yet seen. The spinning whirly-do schnitzel. Now this obstacle is tricky. It requires the balance of a gymnast, the patience of a monk, and the grace of a falcon. Unless you're Toby Segar, because he just jumps over the entire fucking thing. Oh wow, I can't believe he just did that. Toby is now on the final obstacle, the rope climb. He begins at a lightning pace, but as fatigue sets in, he begins to slow down. The rising panel is almost at his feet. The rising panel is almost at his feet, but Toby musters every last drop of grit and determination he has and finishes round 2. I wrote down in my notes that it was the world record time, but I rewatched it and they never said that. So Toby finishes round 2 in the fastest time in Ninja Warrior history. Next up is this dude named Dave who clearly tries to match Toby's speed and intensity, and it does not go well for him.
But I thought that was an American. What's going on there? He's got nuts coming.
They also keep calling this round the semifinals, so it's not actually round 2, it's the semifinals. But it's the second round out of 5 rounds, so I elected to call it round 2 instead of the semifinals. There are 3 entire rounds after this. It doesn't really make any sense. It's the semifinal to the semifinal of the actual semifinal. There's also this guy who's a YouTuber, and they call him a digital content engineer or some shit, but he falls at the running dangle obstacle, which is relatively far into the course. Then the hosts just roast the absolute shit out of him for being a YouTuber, and they edit this like YouTube poop fail reel of him just to mock him being a YouTuber.
This has been everything for the last week. Too slow.
Next up, we move on to my boy, Danny the Plumber. Our last hope for the plumber representation on Ninja Warrior. Danny quickly makes his way across the wibbly wobbly panels and bounces up and onto the first horseshoe. Also, these are actually called sombreros or something like that. They're not called horseshoes. I just started calling them that for some reason. They don't even look like horseshoes, but anyway, Danny misses his first jump on the sombrero swing, and just like that, our blue-collar bad boys are finished. But don't worry, because we still have our rock climbing route setter to complete round 2 for Team Rock Climber. Matt makes it to the same obstacle our other rock climber got to, and in a very unorthodox manner, makes it through. Matt must now use his supreme rock climber grip strength to make it through the pipes, which he flawlessly completes before sprinting up the warped wall, or as he calls it, the V2 slab boulder. Now Matt has made it to the second half of round 2, which very few have made it to so far. But Matt keeps the momentum going by putting on an absolute clinic on the swinging bar obstacle and moving on to the next obstacle. But there's one problem. All of the obstacles so far have just been hanging on things with your arms, and rock climbers are pretty good at that. But the next obstacle is the swirling dingle hopper, which is all legs. Rock climbers don't use those. Thankfully, Matt musters up his courage, and slowly but surely, he finishes the obstacle. All that's left now is the rope climb, and Matt's a rock climber, so it's extremely easy for him. He climbs it super quick and finishes in the fastest time for round 2, beating Toby Segar. The parkour versus rock climber rivalry that I made up is in full swing. Put an AI video of Toby Segar punching a rock climber up here. Pretty intense. So there's a bit of a lull here for a while where everyone just keeps failing on this zipline obstacle, and I'm pretty sure this one dude gets his teeth knocked out. There's also this guy who makes it all the way to the end of round 2, but he tries to complete the final obstacle like this for some reason, and he gets disqualified for being a pussy. And of course, we have our final contestant of round 2, Tim Champion. And as is custom, we start off with Tim already halfway through the course. But he quickly makes his way up the warped wall and hits the buzzer in the most millennial way possible. And much like Toby Segar, Tim gets through round 2 extremely fast. So, Tim jumps onto the swinging bar obstacle. Tim jumps off of the swinging bar obstacle. Tim gets on the wall dangle. Tim slips. Tim jumps off the wall dangle. Tim climb rope. Tim happy. Tim move on to round 3. So we're like probably 20 minutes into the video at this point. We're just now getting into round 3. Don't worry, it's a lot quicker than the other rounds. It's an elimination round, meaning only 15 competitors can make it on to round 4. They have too many, so they just start chopping them down. But unfortunately, I was not able to actually get this episode, and the source I have on the high seas for getting these episodes, this one wasn't available, but we do have YouTube for that, and I did manage to find Toby's run on YouTube. And the elimination round starts off with, by far my favorite obstacle I've ever seen on Ninja Warrior, the log roll. So Toby makes it through, albeit a bit disoriented, and the next 2 obstacles are just a short campusing section followed by a chimney climb, which Toby does easily. Now this round isn't necessarily difficult for the competitors, it's just designed to see who the top 15 fastest are so they can move on to round 4. And as you probably expected, Tim Champion also has no issues with round 3 and moves on to round 4. Now we move on to round 4, the last round before the finals, but I do have a little bit of disappointing news for you guys. Our last rock climber, Matt, was actually eliminated in the elimination round. I don't know how. I didn't see it. He's just not in the finals. And while we'll never have any closure about what happened to Matt, I like to think it happened on the log roll obstacle. And now Matt's climbing away at the great bouldering gym in the sky.
In the arms of the angel.
Anyway, we are now on to the finals, round 4 of 5. The contestants are given 2 minutes and 15 seconds to complete the entire course or face elimination. Starting with the first obstacle, the spinning lache. Next up is Cannonball Alley, a true test of grip and wrist strength. Followed by the iconic salmon ladder, and by the time we reach the fourth obstacle, only 10 competitors remain. Next up is the swinging pegboard, one of the most challenging obstacles in Ninja Warrior, leading to the final obstacle, the door deadlift to the finish. And with a series of such challenging obstacles, it's time to see how fast our parkour legend Toby Segar can finish the course.
See how tricky this is there. Use that momentum to spin.
That's right. Toby Segar, the greatest rock climbing / parkour athlete in the world, in my opinion, decided to go for the old one-handed helicopter lache move. A bold choice that ultimately led to his downfall in this competition. So with both of our rock climbers and Toby Segar now eliminated, it's all up to Tim Champion, the last athlete representing our rock climbing / parkour group. And Tim's run starts off well. He elects to do a normal two-handed lache on the first obstacle, which was probably a wise choice. Tim then moves on to Cannonball Alley, and despite him not being a rock climber, he cruises through the obstacle. And now Tim must face the infamous salmon ladder, which he really has no issues with. He just kind of easily makes it to the top and does the swinging pegboard in like 6 seconds. And I found this next segment really funny because Tim clearly has like over a minute left on the clock, but when he gets to the final obstacle, the clock just disappears. They clearly want to build suspense, like, oh my god, is he gonna make it in time? And it's like, yeah, he finished the entire course in under a minute. Of course he's gonna make it in time. And then they also use like the stock meme air horn sound effect every time somebody finishes a round. I don't know, it just makes me laugh every time.
He was lifting a cardboard box.
Is 50 kilos to go. Tim is through.
So with our final 8 competitors, we move on to the second stage of the finals, round 5 out of 5. This is going to be a long video, but thankfully this round will actually be very quick because the first obstacle of round 5 is cliffhanger. And 6 of the 8 competitors are eliminated on cliffhanger. It turns out that hanging on very small edges by your fingertips is not a universal skill. But one of our 8 finalists, Ali Hay, has the finger strength and the John Wick back tattoos to rise to the challenge. In a challenge that 6 other competitors failed at, Ali Hay succeeded. But he wasn't the only one, because our parkour world champion, Tim Champion, also rises to the challenge and completes cliffhanger.
Hit this for us. Yes!
We're now in a sudden death Ali Hay versus Tim Champion. Ali heads to the second obstacle, the jumping wall. He nervously prepares for the jump and takes the leap. Ali has moved on to the final obstacle, and Tim Champion only has one chance to make the jump to stay in the competition.
Big leap. Spot your landing. Yes!
It's neck and neck. Ali and Tim each only have one obstacle remaining between them and victory: the flying bars. Ali sets himself up for the first lache. He'll have to land multiple of these if he wants to win.
Gotta be tight.
First leap.
Gotta be tight. Come on, Ali.
Spot it and land it. Ah!
Ali fails the first jump. The crowd is shocked, except for her. She's bored as fuck. I know, it's a long episode. Now it's all up to Tim, who has one chance at becoming the ultimate ninja warrior. He begins to swing and launches, and with a shaky landing, Tim lands the first jump. Only 2 to go. Tim looks nervous. He holds his breath and takes another leap. He sticks it. Oh wow, I can't believe he just did that. Tim swings, launches, and lands the final lache. And with that, Tim Champion has become the Ninja Warrior champion. But that's actually not the end. That's right, I lied. There aren't 5 rounds, there are 6. 6 total rounds. Tim must now climb a really long rope, and he wins a prize, I think. I think he gets like $50 if he climbs the rope or something. It's a big deal. And he does. Tim is not only the champion of Tims, the champion of Ninja Warriors, but he is also the champion of ropes. And he is now $50 richer. Congratulations, Tim. A very epic season of Ninja Warrior UK. Thank you all so much for watching. Congratulations, Tim, again on winning Ninja Warrior like 8 years ago whenever this came out. Also, remember, click the link in the description, enter for a chance to win a lifetime supply of Runa Magdust. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.